Okay, I'm prepping dinner for tonight. I want to make an alfredo. I'm not going to make it as it suggests on the package. I am a little bit, but I'm not. I have a measuring prep spoon. I'm going to get out one of our measuring prep bowls because they are 1 cup measuring prep bowls and you can measure with those as well. I'm going to make the package per directions, and I might add a can of cream mushroom soup to make it just that little extra creamy. And then I have the roasted garlic aioli, and I have the cheesy fry seasoning, and I have some of our Italian, this is the dressing mix, but you can use it as a seasoning as well because they're pretty much the same. I'm going to use those, and I have some broccoli right here. I have broccoli and asparagus in here. This is one of our wonderful produce savers. They work amazingly. And then my other one, my small one, has spinach in it. So I'm going to cut up some spinach to go in it as well. My chicken is in the microwave. I've got it defrosting. I'm going to cook that up to where it's cooked through, to where pretty much you're just heating everything through in the oven, because I'm going to put it in an oven-safe dish. And right up there, not the air fryer, but this other one right here is an on-the-counter oven. And I'm going to be using that to make dinner tonight. So that is delicious. So to prep everything, it's all going to go into one bowl before we put it into the pan that we're going to put it in. So here is the alfredo seasoning. I'm going to get my epicure scissors right here. Epicure scissors, they are wonderful. There's a chance that if you spend $60 or more, you can get a pair of the scissors or a pair of the tongs. I don't have the tongs out right now, but I do have them. Let me see if I can reach them. The tongs are wonderful. They are great. I use them quite often, especially when I make stuff in the crock pot. So you spend $60 or more this month, and you can choose between the two of these, whether you want the tongs or the scissors. I highly recommend both. I use both a lot. So I'm going to set the tongs down right there. But let's go ahead and open our seasoning right here. And this is absolutely amazing. Oh, it smells so good. I'm not sure if you guys can see in there, see all that delicious powder. Let's put it into the bowl. Okay, this says for ingredients, it's got cheddar cheese, milk, so it does contain dairy. So if you can't have dairy, this is probably not for you. Cheese culture, salt, whey, buttermilk solids, sodium, phosphate, lactic acid, cornstarch, salt, garlic, mustard flour, cayenne pepper. When I eat it, I don't taste the cayenne pepper, but it blends in with the bowl. It's actually amazing, an amazing seasoning. It says to make it, microwave in a 4th cup microwavable bowl. I'm not going to microwave it. I'm going to cook it in my over-the-counter oven, like I just said. Combine and mix with 1.5 cups of milk. On the stove top, combine mix with 1.5 cups milk in the saucepan. Whisk constantly, bring to a boil. So you can cook it either in the microwave or on the stove top, and you can add the noodles of your choice. So I'm going to mostly cook my noodles on the stove and mostly cook my chicken. That way it's just heating things through and heating it up. And then we're just going to put the vegetables and stuff in here as is. So let's go ahead and get chopping. I'm putting that bowl right there off to the side. There again, the alfredo seasoning. The other seasonings will go in a few minutes. Actually, let's go ahead and add them now. I was going to do a taste test and wait and see. Okay, this is the fry seasoning. This one also contains milk, and it smells absolutely amazing. Oh, the fry seasoning. I'm doing 1 heaping teaspoon, and I say heaping because it is teeping. And we're going to put that in there. That whole teaspoon goes in there. Or I could have shaken it, because this is our shaker, because it goes on the fries. A shaker. Chicken's defrosted. I'll cut that up in a little bit. This one also contains milk. So you'll get a recipe up here at the top of how to do it, and the list of ingredients, and the nutritional facts. Those come on everything that we have. And then I'm going to add a little bit of extra garlic in here as well. So I'm going to do a teaspoon of garlic. So the other side of this measuring spoon is a teaspoon, so the garlic goes in there. And for the Italian dressing or seasoning, I am actually going to use a half a tablespoon. So we're going to go to the tablespoon side. And we're going to measure about half of that. So that's about half of it, because I didn't fill the whole thing. And we're going to put that in there as well. Yes, it is just the Alfredo seasoning, but I'm adding extra to it. So it's going to have that extra little zni. So those are all the seasonings that we're going to have. I'm going to set that off to the side. And then we got to cut up our vegetables, and such as our onion. I'm not going to use the scissors. I technically could use the scissors to cut up the onion, but I'm not going to. So I cut the ends off because that's just how I do it. And then I cut it in half. And I think I'm going to use the smaller half, which is this half. And this is the half I'm going to dice up and put in the pan when I cook the chicken. And this half I will slice up or dice up as well. And that's going to go into this bowl to be put into the freezer, because when I do a whole onion, I make sure I slice up the whole onion in the process. So once I am done with the onion, I'll be right back. Okay, now we've got the onion in the pot for the chicken. I'm now going to do, and when it comes to the broccoli, I don't hardly ever use the stems, but you can hold on to those and you can save those to make like a broth. I want my broccoli to be about like this. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I got a pan of water right there on the stove that I'm going to just go ahead and put it in. That way I can cook the noodles and the broccoli at the same time. So the broccoli will be mostly cooked through and the noodles will be mostly cooked through. And then it'll be delicious and yummy. Uh-oh. Dot's going to get that piece of broccoli I just dropped out of the floor. And then that piece won't separate, so see, 2 pieces of broccoli. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm now going to cut up the broccoli to where it's like little bite-sized pieces like that. And then when I'm done with this, I'm going to cut up some spinach. And the spinach is actually going to go in this bowl with the seasoning that I just threw everywhere. It's going to go in this bowl. I threw a chunk of the seasoning out, but it's okay. So there's that. And then the way I cut that one up, that one was just perfect. So we're just going to put that whole thing into the pot with water. I am probably going to use this whole thing and maybe a little bit more that I have in my bag over here, because I didn't have room to put it in here. But now I will, because all that's left in here is just enough asparagus to cook a meal. So that's what we're going to do. And now this is like that. I'm just going to tear that part and tear that part. And then that broccoli is perfect to go into the pan of water. So tonight's Alfredo is going to have broccoli, spinach, and onions. I'm trying to decide if I want to add sweet peppers to it as well. If I do, I'll put it in with the chicken and I will let you know. But I'm going to finish with the broccoli and I'll be back. Okay, I decided I wanted some of the sweet peppers, so they are actually the sweet peppers. So I'm just going to cut the top off, and then I'm going to cut any extra I can off of the top to use it, because I try not to let any go to waste. And then the bag that I'm not using, because I already put the big thing away, all the extra seeds and stuff are going to go over here into the bag. And don't call me lazy. Yes, I know I am sitting on my stool. My IIH makes things kind of where I have to sit down. Even this little bit sitting in the stool, I can still feel my back. And then I'm just dicing up the peppers. It's going to go in with the chicken and the onions. Only other thing I did is I added some of our minced garlic to the pot. That's about a teaspoon of minced garlic. So, yes, we carry minced garlic as well. So, I added that to the pot. And then I'm just going to slice up these. I've got the broccoli starting to boil. It takes a little bit longer than the noodles, so I started the broccoli a little bit earlier. And then I'm trying to decide if I want to use macaroni style noodles, the rigatoni style, or my green spaghetti noodles. So you'll know when I know. That's all I can say. You will know when I know. So I'm going to just sit here and finish slicing up the peppers, and then get my chicken out and start dicing up the chicken. And then we will finish prepping dinner. Oh, I also wanted to add, sorry, train of thought, that you don't have to add the extra seasonings that I did. That packet, the Alfredo packet, is actually all the seasonings that you really need to make the Alfredo. And you just add the milk and heat it through, and then add your noodles and whatever protein or vegetables that you want to add. So I just wanted to throw that out there just in case people think, oh, I have to do all this. You don't. This is just how I make it have that extra little zing and oomph. And I wanted to try it with a little bit of that cheesy fry seasoning, because Alfredo is a cheesy sauce. So that was almost my finger. Gotta be careful. But Alfredo is a cheesy sauce, and that's why it does contain milk. And plus you're using the milk to help thicken it up as you cook it through. So it'll be delicious and yummy once everything is all done. I can almost guarantee it. So the onions and the peppers are going to cook to where they're almost translucent by the time the chicken is done. So they will be perfect. And then the broccoli is going to be soft and tender by the time that the noodles are done. So they'll be perfect. And I'm pretty much just going to heat stuff through. And so when I'm ready to combine everything and add the milk and maybe a can of cream mushroom soup, and I get to that point, I will come back and show you. Okay, I did decide to use these ones. They are the rotini spiral noodles. So these are the ones that we will be using. Okay, I wanted to show how fancy these are. This spinach has been in this container for about 2 weeks, and you see it's still fresh and light and delicious and perfect. These produce savers are amazing. What I do, I put it in there. I put the spacer so any water that drips down past the vegetables, and so they got a little spacer down here. I even have one that's like a divider, so if you want to put 2 vegetables or 2 fruits, so that's amazing as well. So, and then I use a paper towel right here to trap any more moisture. So it actually, you don't have to use a paper towel. That's just what I do. But now I'm going to grab spinach leaves, and I'm going to set them like this and just eat that one. And I'm going to line these up and stack them. And then that's how I'm going to cut them for this Alfredo sauce. And I'm going to put these in with the actual seasonings that I have in the bowl over here. Okay, I've got a few kind of done. Well, I'm going to kind of cut the stems off because I don't want the stems. I'm going to put the stems over there. I'm going to turn them and cut them lengthwise. Watch your fingers as you're doing this. Basically, you're chopping it into squares. And then we're just going to chop your squares so you have perfectly small pieces of spinach that are going to go into the bowl. So little square pieces of spinach. And then I'm going to do a few more, and then I'm going to cut up my chicken and start cooking the chicken in the pot so it's going to be ready and perfect. Okay, when it comes to cutting up the chicken, I'm just cutting it into small little square bites. Well, that was an extra piece. Small little square bites. And then they're going to go into the pan with the onions and the peppers. And I did cut off some of the fat so that we're not worried about the fat getting into the food, because that's just how I am. I don't like biting into fat. And just bite-sized pieces of chicken. And then it goes into the pot. So, that's it. Okay, chicken and the peppers and the onions are cooking. The broccoli and the noodles are cooking. Let's stir those. There again, I decided on the rotini spiral noodles. So it's going to be a yummy. It's not a traditional Alfredo because it's not the long noodles. But this calls for 1.5 cups of milk. So here's my measuring prep bowl. Let's pull my bowl over here. And I'll show you, I did put the spinach in there. So the spinach is in there with all the seasonings. So am I going to need to pull out more milk? Let's see. Yep, because that's not quite a cup. That's okay, because I have 2 more in the fridge. My son is down here helping me now.
My question is, are they
The one that looks like this is the one that we need. That's the newest one, so we want the one like this.
This is the newest.
It's all the way in the back. I know.
Is it frozen now?
It might be a little bit. I don't know. Sorry, I'm mixing the chicken real quick.
Obviously.
Milk! And this is lactose-free milk because I cannot drink normal milk.
Cannot eat or drink.
Whew! That little plug was stuck.
I was also trying not to rip that out.
Okay, so there's one, and then we need a half. And then that's a little bit over half, but that's okay because we're also.
It's hard not to rip this out.
Yeah, I know. I think this is the lid for it.
It really don't matter.
There you go. Thank you. And then I did decide I'm going to put in a can of cream mushroom soup. Just any cream mushroom soup will work. If I had any left over from our wintry soup seasonings for our winter mushroom soup, I would be using that instead of canned mushroom soup. But you can use whatever you want.
I love how you say, I think this is the lid for it, when the lid for that one's on it.
I didn't realize that. That's how bad my IIH is right now. Come out! There we go. And then I'm just going to mix all this together. And then this is our base for our alfredo sauce. I can't really show you what it looks like because I'll spill it everywhere. And we don't want to waste any of it. But it smells absolutely amazing, and it will cook through once I put it into the pan and put everything together and cook the rest of the way on the counter oven, which is right back there. So that's my air fryer, and then that one right there is the oven. I do it that way because my actual oven is not working properly. And yes, I am still sitting down to cook, but it is okay. We're making things work. So once the chicken is cooked through, we're going to add that to here. And once the noodles and broccoli are mostly cooked through, then we're going to add them too. They got a little bit more to go. I'm not going to fully cook them in the water here because they're actually going to cook a little bit further in the oven. So, yum! Okay, now I'm going to pour in my chicken. So the chicken's going to get poured in there with all the onions and peppers. Make sure they get all added in there. And then we're going to reach over here and grab the noodles. And they're going to get poured in there as well. And then we're just going to stir to combine everything. And the heat through these is going to somewhat thicken up the sauce, which is going to make it perfectly and delicious. And then I'm also going to add, oh, that smells amazing. And everything is pretty much already cooked, so I can eat it as is if I really wanted to. But we're not going to. We're going to put it in the pot. Look at how delicious that looks. I mean, look at that. Yum. So this is perfectly and delicious. But I'm thinking I want to add a little bit of shredded cheese to this as well. So this is just how I am doing my Alfredo sauce to make a delicious Alfredo. And it's got tons of veggies in it and absolutely delicious. I mean, look at that. Spinach, broccoli, peppers, onions, and of course the noodles. Yum. And then it's going to go into this pan and then in the oven. And sorry, that was loud. And in the oven, and then I'm just going to wait till it gets close to time for hubby to be home, and I'm going to turn it on and cook it, and yum, a delicious dinner, which will be ready once it heats through for about maybe 15-20 minutes because everything's already cooked. Now look at how delicious that looks. Yum, a delicious Alfredo that is made into an oven bake. Just as simple, just as easy. Takes me a little bit longer because of my health conditions, but you can easily do this in 20 minutes. Yum! That's how delicious it looks.